from Jumeirah Golf Estates.
This is Afternoons with Helen Farmer.
Oh, what a putt! What a putt!
Live at the season-ending DP World Tour Championship. Come watch the greatest players on earth.
On DubaiEye 103.8.
Fantastic to have you with us. It's Thursday, the weekend is just around the corner, and there is no better place to be than here at Jumeirah Golf Estates for the DP World Tour Championship. The action is kicking off. It's going to be going on until Sunday, so do come down. Say hi if you're already here, if you're on your way. And it's happening all weekend for both golf fans and non-golf fans alike. Plenty of food, plenty of drinks, plenty of entertainment too. Staying with food, delighted to be talking with Jenny Morris. Well, this is one of South Africa's best known chefs. She's released a number of cookbooks, including Rude Food, Nude Food and Good Food. She's presented a variety of TV cooking shows. And I caught up with her recently and had a real laugh. No surprise, as she is known as the giggling gourmet. So I had to ask, what was she doing here in the UAE?
Well, this time I'm here to film a new TV series for Food Network and for Fatofi.
Oh, fantastic.
Which is the local Arabic
so popular here.
Yes,
it really is. And I know you come to Dubai and Abu Dhabi a lot for the taste festivals.
Yes.
But this time you're going to be in the studio. What can we expect from the new TV show?
Well, the new TV show it's got a little bit of global. Because I've got I'm a greedy girl, you know, so I like to eat everything from around the world, but it's also got a little taste of South Africa. Some of the traditional dishes that I've really turned upside down, but will never be criticised, darling, because the flavours are still the same.
So you're putting your own twist on things.
Absolutely.
I love it. Such as what? Can you give us some examples?
Yes, I can. There is a dish back home called Denningvlees. Now, Denningvlees will not be called that, obviously, on the programme because we will drive our Arabic viewers crazy.
And even us English, I don't think I could say that either.
Say Denningvlees for me.
Denningvlees.
You almost got it.
Denningvlees.
But the main ingredient in that is tamarind.
Oh, lovely.
It's delicious. So it's sort of sweet and sour, and it's spicy. It's got allspice in it, and cinnamon and cloves and all beautiful flavours. So those have stayed where they belong. Mm-hmm. And instead of a long slow cook, it's for the busy lady of the house. So we're going to use chops. Oh, man, of course, these days a lot of men cook. My one does.
My husband's a much better cook than I am.
I have to force my husband to cook. But I don't like him cooking because he messes the house up.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like a good cook does tend to tidy up themselves as they go, whereas leaving complete devastation seems to be the mark of, not to make generalisations, but many a male cook.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tamarind and what do you do with it? What are those flavours on?
Those flavours, so basically it's always the base of sort of ginger, garlic, onions, because the onions have to have a lot of onions because it gives you this lovely, rich, thick sauce. It's like when you make a curry. Mm-hmm. And then the tamarind pulp. And then you just cook it long and slow. So basically with this dish, I cook the sauce out nice and long and slow. I sear the chops and put them in close to the end. So they suck up that lovely flavour and the meat is almost just falling off the bone. Jenny, but it still have a little bit of chew in it.
I haven't had my lunch yet. This is absolute torture. So this is your take. And also bringing in some lovely Middle Eastern flavours as well. We're so lucky in Dubai that we are, bang in the middle.
Yes.
So you must enjoy eating out and about when you're here.
I love eating. You know what? I have special places that I go to.
Right. I
eat up and down.
And that's the thing about Dubai. You can have a blowout meal and spend quite a few dirhams if you want to, and you can do the street food. You can get lots of different flavours and really be a bit casual. So okay, tell us, what are Jenny Morris's top picks for eating out in Dubai?
Do you know what? It's so diverse. I've eaten in the market. Where I've had Armenian food, where you have this platter that is so big you could sit on it. You could really just sit in the middle of this platter of rice. Every grain of rice has flavour. You almost forget about the meat. With beautiful toasted nuts and then shoulders of lamb that absolutely melt off the bone. And this is sitting down with the locals, getting your hands dirty, and just having lemon and chili and yogurt. That for me feeds my soul. And then I go to DubaiEye, to a place called Specialist Stadi, I think it's still called
the kebab place.
The kebab place. I've been going there for 8 years. And in fact, I've just awarded them a Jenny Morris plaque.
Oh, they must be delighted.
I carried it, it's so heavy as well, let me tell you. I carried it all the way from South Africa. I had it engraved. I had it made especially for them because I think their food rocks. I think it is consistently fabulous.
I was just about to say that exact same word. It's
Yes.
consistent. You can take guests there and you don't drive the whole way and go, oh,
No.
I really hope it's good tonight, because
I
you
don't
know it's
drive.
going to be good.
I take the train.
Do
Or is it
you?
the metro?
The metro?
I like to go local,
I
darling.
love
Yes.
it. I love it. And if you were going to have a bit of a special occasion, any fine dining favourites?
I like pear chic.
Like seafood?
Oh, yes, and they do that to perfection.
They
I
really
have to
do.
say, they just take it, and my mouth certainly loves me by the time I leave it about my pocket, but my mouth adores me.
Now, as I said, you come to Dubai and Abu Dhabi a lot for taste of festivals,
Yes.
and you're really well known and loved for your cookery demonstrations. What do you think makes a good demonstration at events such as that?
I think, you know what, it needs to be tight and punchy. I think people need to take away information, and it's got to be entertaining. It shouldn't be boring, because you have to understand when you go to those shows, they've got so much on offer that you're scared you're going to miss something. And you don't want people getting up in the middle of your demonstration, so you have to
Grab them.
and you keep them there because you glue them to their seat.
From Jumeirah Golf Estates.
This is Afternoons with Helen Farmer.
Oh, what a putt! What a putt!
Live at the season-ending DP World Tour Championship. Come watch the greatest players on earth.
On DubaiEye 103.8.
We are broadcasting live from the DP World Tour Championship here at Jumeirah Golf Estates. Fantastic atmosphere. Give us a wave. Lots of people around our studio here in the Championship Village. And we are talking food this afternoon. Hearing more from my chat with celebrity chef Jenny Morris, also known as the Giggling Gourmet. So I had to ask her, as she's famed for her cookery demonstrations, what are some of her most popular?
It's the seafood things. It's things that are so easy. You demystify what they think they can't do.
And that's what we all want, you know.
Yeah.
It's great to go out and enjoy food in restaurants, and I always try and order something I could never cook at home, which
Yes.
granted is most of the menu, but you know, a bit I think for many of us we want to feel a bit empowered,
Of course
and
you
feel
do.
confident in the
Yes.
kitchen.
And what I love is after you've done that demonstration, when people actually come up to you, ask you questions about that dish because they want to reproduce it at home. Can you give me the recipe? You know, where can I get the recipe? And you end up talking into people's phones and saying, do this, do this, do this.
How
and do
amazing
that.
to have you on the
Yes.
phone talking you through in the kitchen, the ultimate personal chef.
I know we do so many of those. Hello, Mum. I'm with your daughter.
Oh, that's
It's the taste of
lovely.
Abu Dhabi or the taste of Dubai.
So what about disasters? Have there been any? Have there?
You know what? We're all human. And what do they say? To err is human.
Yeah, that's
I did an African Christmas in Namibia, which is obviously outside of South Africa, and it's hot and it's dry and it's got desert. Some of the terrain is very similar to here. And I thought, can't make a fruitcake, you know, so we're going to do beautiful outside al fresco type dining. And I thought, let's do a delicious, spicy carrot cake, because it's something they will eat for days afterwards. Well, and you know me, I like to get everybody involved. So I said, darling, you do this and you do that, and I'm not going to get my nails all scratched. You can grate the carrots. And so we went on, and then it was this beautiful big communal basin, and we threw everything in, and we popped it into the oven, went on to the next dish, and the room smelled like heaven. You could smell the rich, wonderful warmth of the cinnamon and the sugar, and it was just like, oh my goodness.
This doesn't sound like a disaster at all. So what happened?
Well, they kept saying, when is the cake coming out of the oven? And I kept looking and thinking, why haven't you risen? And we kept talking, as one does, as
You're
she
filling,
does.
filling.
I forgot to put the flour in.
Oh no!
It
So
made
did
lovely
Ryan.
carrot halva. You know what they say, take the recipe and own it.
It's true.
Wait, I'm an ambassador for Food Forward, which is a feeding scheme back home. It's like Food Bank. And so we waste not, want not.
No, it's still going to have those delicious
It was
flavours.
delicious. We just rolled everything into little balls and devoured them.
Good for you.
They were full of coconut. They were lovely.
Speaking of back home then, tell us about growing up. Where were you born? Where did you grow up? And who was the foodie in your family?
I grew up in Natal. I grew up in Durban, obviously in South Africa. And my mum was always the holistic, nurturing. She cooked beautiful food. Her food, you could taste the love in it. My father was a lunatic, and my husband calls me a flavologist because I love putting flavors together, and I think I get that from my dad. And he was a nightmare in the kitchen because he used everything.
So experimental to a fault.
My goodness gracious, but you know what? The sad thing is he would make something that was so utterly divine and delicious and could never reproduce it because he forgot what he had done. So I think I get that madness. Well, it's not madness, really.
It's creativity.
It's creativity. Yes, he was very artistic.
As long as you're creative with a notebook next to you, so you can do it again.
Well, this is the whole thing. And so, yeah, that comes from him. That comes from my dad.
And what was on the table growing up then? What kind of things were you having for dinner as a family?
You know what I used to love is Sunday lunch, especially when we were young. We would wake up to the smell. She, being my mum, would take big legs of mutton, not lamb. So it needed long, slow cooking. And you would wake up to the smell of garlic. You know, when garlic, it just starts mellowing. And fresh rosemary, she would do it on a whole bed of fresh herbs because we grew everything we ate. We didn't slaughter. Thank goodness. We had butchers for that in those days. And you could just smell the love in that kitchen.
You knew it was going to be a good day.
You just knew it was going to be a good day. You know, when roast potatoes being roasted beautifully, properly.
Can you help me with some roast
Yes.
potatoes? Obviously, we're coming to the festive season.
Yes.
I'm going home for Christmas this year,
nice.
and my mum, I want to take something kind of off her shoulders. And I
Yes.
thought, you know what? We'll do a bit of Christmas dinner.
Yes.
Can you tell us how to make some really good
Perfect
roasties?
roast potato? Yes. Okay, it all starts off with the way I do it. I like to rough them up a bit. So I pop them into a pot of cold water, anything under the ground in cold water, and salt it. Very important. And I cook them till they're almost fork tender. So when there's a little bit of resistance in the center, you then take them out, because by boiling them, what happens is all the sugars and all the starches, they kind of just cling to the outside of the potato. Now you want lots of surface area. So you take that whole potato and you cut it down lengthways. So now you have a big surface to attract crispness. I then stick them into a bowl, lemon juice on them, shake them up a little bit, because that's the roughing up, so that they get these little rough edges.
The texture. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then I put oil on them. And then the pan, while you preheat your oven, preheat the pan at the same time. And then I just whack them onto there with some beautiful coarse salt, chopped rosemary. And if anybody comes late, because that's why I started doing them like that, because they're late for dinner, you make these perfectly wonderful potatoes, and they look like, Hell's Angels and leather jackets by the time people arrive, and you can't even bite through them. These are fantastic even the next day.
Jenny Morris there, one of South Africa's best known chefs. To hear the rest of our conversation, head over to the podcast page at DubaiEye1038.com or wherever you find your podcasts. Just search for Afternoons with Helen Farmer. Don't forget to rate and subscribe.